to Movement Not Miracles, Eat Move Be Happy. Yet again, it's 12 o'clock and it's time to move your body. It's time to pay some attention to, we're going to be doing backs again today. My back is not happy. It's really stiff in between my shoulder blades. So we're going to be doing some more work to target that today. So, hi everybody, and my name is Anna. I'm from Eat Move Be Happy. Sorry, a bit of a hesitation as I saw some bubbles flying and some people joining in, which is fine. So the purpose of Movement Not Miracles is to give you some ideas on some simple ways of keeping your joints mobile and warding off some of those aches and pains. Clearly I haven't been as mobile as I should have been, or I could have been, with my upper back, because it is quite stiff and is achy at the moment, which is driving me mad. So I'm trying to mobilise my upper spine so that it stops aching. That would be good. So we're going to start off with, now this one we've done before and I never knew what it was called, and apparently it's called the child's pose. So it's a basic yoga move, and under normal circumstances this is a relaxing pose, and I'm not saying it's not going to be relaxing today, but we're using this to try and access that upper back. Now it is a forward bend. If you are seated, you can still get the same action in your upper back by folding forwards in your chair and using a surface, putting your hands on a surface to push down, because obviously you can't connect with the floor, but you can connect with a solid surface. So it's a similar sort of action. So you sit, if you're doing it on the floor like me, sit with your toes together and sit back on your heels and your knees as wide, just a bit wider than your hips. And then you're going to fold at the hips and fold your torso down. And what you're aiming to do is, just move back a little bit so that you can see, is keeping your bottom as close to your heels as you can. Push down through your palms so that you can connect with your shoulder blades onto your back. So by pushing through your hands, you should now be able to feel your shoulder blades. And actually, if you lift your head up, that helps get into that upper back region. And I'm trying to push my shoulder blades hard, as if I'm using my shoulder blades to push my body down towards the floor. Just for the sake of it, whilst we're in this pose, if you were using this as a relaxing pose, then you would rest your head on the floor and you can rest your arms on the floor, rest your forehead down, and that takes the action out of your upper back, but you could use this as a way of relaxing. However, that's not the purpose of today, so we're going to do that one again. So push your bottom back, push your palms into the floor, really squeeze your shoulder blades onto the back of your chest as if you're trying to push your body down using your shoulder blades. Looking up means you get a bit more action through that upper back. Right, I'm going to take that one now into the cat-camel stretch. So on all fours, and really arch up through your back, pushing with your hands and supporting your weight through your knees, and then the other way, and then back up. And just to keep with that movement, we're going to go back into that child's pose. So toes together, knees apart, and fold from the hips. And then we'll come back up. Trying to get some movement in this. This works your lumbar as well, this one. You'll probably feel more movement down here, which is fine. And then we're arching back up. And a couple more. Okay. Right, stay on the floor. Again, if you are seated, you can still get a version of this twist. So what we're aiming to do is, so you've got toes and knees on the floor, or sitting on your bottom, you're going to be arms behind your head, and you would twist down towards your hip and back up. So your elbow comes down towards your hip and then pushing back. If we're doing this kneeling, so you've got one arm behind your head and your elbow, one elbow reaches towards the other elbow, and then you twist back and up, pushing away with your hand on the floor. So I'm pushing the floor away and trying to lift my elbow as high towards the ceiling as I can. And we'll do that one again. In fact, we'll do this one a few times. And as you try and twist up, breathe out. And as you breathe out, try and twist up a tiny bit more. Okay, and then we'll do that on the other side. So elbow comes down towards your other elbow and gradually wind this side up. Try not to hold your breath. Breathe out as you lift up and push the floor away with the hand that's on the floor. There we go. Trying to see if I've got a little bit more movement. What was next? Oh, this one I find really hard, because my shoulder flexibility is not brilliant, but that's not a reason not to do it. We will do what we can do. So standing with your back against the wall, you can lean your bottom against the wall, have your heels as close to the wall as you can, and shoulder blades flat on the wall and head. So you've got heels, bum, shoulder blades and head as point of contact, and you're going to try and keep that all the way through. And then you're going to lift your arms up. We call these stick 'em ups. So elbows now on the wall as well, and you're aiming to get your wrists flat on the wall, like that. Now my shoulders won't do that unless I curl away, just because my shoulders don't bend very well. So that's quite hard work for me. And what tends to happen is, you're probably not going to be able to see it from there, but my ribs flare out and my lumbar arches. So I end up having to do this in order to try and get the mobility through my shoulders. And I don't want you to do that. So we're trying to work through the shoulders and the upper back and not through the lower back. So what I want you to think about is tilting that pelvis, pushing your hips forward and working hard through your glutes to stabilise your hips and gripping through your belly. So if you feel the muscles in your bum or the muscles in your belly, they should be contracting, so they should be working, what we call active. So heels, bum, shoulder blades and head, ponytail, and working hard to not let your ribs stick out, and hands and forearms as flat against the wall as you can. And then we're going to raise our arms up and keep breathing, and we're going to raise our arms down, elbows towards your waist. Can you see what happens? My arms come away from the wall, so I have to really work hard to keep them up there. Try and relax through your head and neck, which is easier said than done if you stiffen your shoulders. And reach up. Don't let those ribs stick out. Right, we're going to have a bit of a waggle, a tactical waggle, because that is quite hard. In fact, what we'll do, just to help release that, we're going to do those again in a second, is we'll just do some really simple twists all the way through your back. And as you twist round, see if you can go a tiny bit more, like wringing a towel. Just go a tiny bit more. We've been laughing about that this morning. We'd get moving. And once more the other side. Okay. So let's go back to those stick 'em ups and try for a second time. Because the second time is always better. It's almost like your body thinks, okay, I know what this feels like. Your head knows what to do. So now we try again. Don't let those ribs stick out. Reach up. And breathe out. Reach down. And again. And one more for fun. Okay. Right. So let me check. Right, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to use my trusty roller. So if you haven't got a foam roller, you can use rolled up towels, something that is relatively firm but not rock hard, because we're going to lie on this to arch over to try and encourage some movement in that spine. So it doesn't have to be a roller, but if you're using towels you probably need a couple of them rolled up, and you could use a cushion or a pillow and then wrap a towel around that, but foam roller is a really good idea. If you have a bobbly foam roller, that's the technical term, then they can be quite uncomfortable to lie on, so if you wrap that in a towel it can act as a bit of a cushion. Top tip that I've learned, but this one's quite useful. So what we're aiming to do with this one is you lay on the floor and you can place the foam roller, this for me is just underneath my shoulder blades, and my feet are flat on the floor and I'm sitting on sort of my sacrum, the very bottom of my back. You're going to put your arms behind your head, but they don't have to be like elephant ears, they don't have to be sticking out, they can be cradled behind your head. And we're just going to think of arching backwards through that upper back without letting this happen. I might just turn my camera a tiny bit so you can see a little bit more of my back, because this one's a really subtle move, but quite effective if you can get it right. But what tends to happen is as we bend back, our hips, our lower back lifts and our ribs flare out. Now all that is doing, whilst that feels quite comfortable, it's working through my lower back, which isn't wrong, but I've got an issue with my upper back. So what you have to do in order to access your upper back is, again, work through your tummy muscles. So contract your tummy muscles to keep all of the lower half of your back stable, and without letting your ribs flare, think of really curling back through your upper back. And go as far as you can go without letting that happen. And just hold it and then try and go a tiny bit more as you breathe out. I'm having to push my feet quite hard into the floor in order to stabilise the lower half of my body. And then moving, I think we're going to go down a little bit, moving the roller a little bit lower first. We're going to do the same thing again. So you can change the position of the roller, which gives you a different pivot point on your back. Now as you can see, there's not a big move, and that's okay. And to work quite hard pushing my feet into the floor and through my tummy muscles to stop my ribs flaring, and then we're going to do one more a little bit higher this time. So now the roller is sort of level with my shoulder blades. So I'm probably going to get less movement now because there's less to curl over. Right, so grip through your tummy, feet pressed into the floor. Don't let your ribs flare. That's right where it is. Right, so I'm going to stay here and I'm going to straighten one arm out and try and push that arm towards the floor to get a little bit more movement through that one side. And then come back and do the same with the other side. Breathe out and see if you can go a tiny bit further. And once more. Don't let your ribs flare. And once more. Right, so obviously this move is not quite as simple as just sitting at your desk, and there's a little bit of equipment needed and a little bit of space. However, it is quite effective at encouraging those vertebrae in your upper back to start to move. So we've tried to encourage the spine to bend this way. So what we're going to do now is do a bit more twisting, so we can encourage it to move in a different plane. So the first one we're going to do is a crocodile stretch. I'm going to do this lying down. Again, you can do this seated, so if you imagine that your arms are the crocodile jaws rather. So as you're seated in your chair, you're aiming to twist round using the arm as a pivot point. So I'm going to do this lying down. And again, in order to focus on my upper back, I'm just going to support my knee on the foam roller. You can do this with your leg flat on the floor. It takes it more into a lower back or a whole back twist, which is absolutely fine. But I'm just wanting to work through my upper back still. So I am supported on one hip supported on my shoulder, arms are these crocodile jaws, and I'm just going to reach, keeping my knee on the roller all the way over, and then reach again. So it's a bit more of a sideways twisting move. Which just releases some of the stiffness in a different plane, and then we're going to do that on the other side, and I will switch around so that you can see. Hopefully I've got enough space for my arm. That's your crocodile arms. It's not going to go, so I have to bend my elbow. I haven't got enough room, but that's okay. So you can do this with your elbow bent. It's similar to the one that we did kneeling. Sometimes if you do a slightly different posture, you can get a little bit more movement. So, and it just keeps things interesting, I think. And then last one, a seated twist. So I'm going to do, again, you can be sitting in a chair and you can use the back of the chair, and I'm going to be using my legs to turn around, but you can use the back of the chair. So I'm going to have my legs crossed, and first of all, whether you're seated in the chair or sitting on the floor, we need to be sitting up tall. So you sit tall out of your pelvis with your spine nice and straight. It's really difficult to get any movement out of your spine if you're hunched down. So sit up nice and tall, reach over one knee with the opposite arm, and your hand goes behind you, and one hand is pushing and this hand is pulling. So the hand that's on the knee is going to be pulling your body around, and the hand that's behind is pushing the floor away. And again, as you breathe out, think of twisting all the way through your back. Still sitting nice and tall, and still thinking about some breadth across your collarbones. So we're not letting this happen. So sitting nice and tall, obviously your arms got to come forwards, but instead of it staying forwards, you see the difference? And then we'll do the same on the other side. Oh, excuse me, bit of an itchy nose. So the hand behind you, I'm pushing the floor that way, and I'm pulling with the hand that's on my knee to try and get my chest round as much as it will go. And as you breathe out, try and go a tiny bit more. And using your hands on your leg and on the floor, you can sometimes just get a tiny bit more movement. I'm going to do that once more on each side because the second time is always better. As you breathe out, twist a tiny bit more. Okay, it does feel a little bit better. It's feels like I've got a bit more space in there, and there's not that dull ache that there was at the beginning. So I clearly need to keep on with those, which I will do over today and tomorrow. We'll do something different tomorrow because we've done backs of some variety Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So maybe we'll do some hips and ankles tomorrow. So hopefully that's been useful. Please spread the word. If these videos are useful for you, then they're likely to be useful for other people just to help. Because the one thing I do know, and I definitely put myself in this category, is that most people should be doing a little bit more stretching and mobility work than they do. And that would help look after our joints and keep them healthier and moving in the right way, and ward off some of those aches and pains that we can get from poor posture and from sitting still for long periods of time. So if there's anything that you do particularly want me to cover, then let me know. Check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com. Lots of ideas on moving better, eating better, looking after your physical and mental health and well-being, and just some interesting articles on all things health and well-being. Today's article has been all about stress and stress management and the coping strategies that you use. And as with most of these things, it comes from awareness. What do you do when you feel like your roundabout is spinning a bit too fast and you need some help to get off? And knowing stuff like that means you can do it more deliberately, which might sound really, really obvious, but usually when your roundabout's spinning too fast, you're focused on other things. So go check out the website and let us know what you think, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.